For example, when Rocky would never be made today. This never would have happened. It's over. Majority. The Godfather wouldn't be made today. The day of the kind of entrepreneurial, grabbing life by the seat of the pants, going with your gut instinct is over.
Stallone literally mortgaged his house to make Rocky after studios rejected it. Now he says he couldn't even make that film today. I'm not about to let a bunch of tofu-eating hipsters tell me how to make a movie. The guy who played Rocky and Rambo thinks modern Hollywood has gone soft. He says the days when filmmakers took real risks are over, and he's not just talking about doing his own stunts. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. When Stallone limps across the screen in Rocky, that's not acting. The guy actually broke ribs filming Rocky IV when Dolph Lundgren punched him for real. His heart swelled up so bad doctors thought he might die. While today's action stars brag about doing their own stunts in carefully controlled environments, Stallone was out there actually getting wrecked. "I've had my share of injuries," Stallone once said in an interview. "I've broken my neck doing a stunt for The Expendables. I've had both shoulders done, my back's been fused, I've had both calf muscles torn off my bone, but I keep going." This isn't some PR exaggeration. The man's body literally has the scars to prove it. Compare that to what passes for commitment today. We've got actors posting workout selfies and talking about their protein shakes while standing in front of green screens. Meanwhile, Stallone was hanging from a helicopter by his fingertips in Cliffhanger, 3,000 feet above the ground with no safety net. The insurance companies would have a collective heart attack if someone tried that today. But it goes deeper than just stunts. Stallone represents a dying breed of filmmaker who believed in putting everything on the line for your art.
Crossroads situations that every artist faces early on. Go left, go right, and if you make the wrong decision, you sometimes regret it forever, and I just knew.
Hollywood folklore, but the story about you not giving them the script without agreeing to you starring in it, that is true.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Now I'm gonna have to sell my dog. We didn't have enough food to feed. I said, one of us doesn't eat. It's either you, my wife, or the dog. One of us. That wasn't.
When he wrote Rocky, every studio in town rejected it. Instead of giving up, he refused millions because they wouldn't let him star in his own script. This was a broke, struggling actor turning down life-changing money because he believed in himself. "I was 106 pounds, had $106 in the bank," Stallone revealed. "My dog got sold because I couldn't feed him. I was desperate." But that desperation fueled his determination. When he finally got the green light, he mortgaged everything he owned to make sure Rocky got made his way. Name one Marvel superhero actor willing to risk financial ruin for artistic integrity. This is what Stallone means when he says, "The day of entrepreneurial, grabbing life by the seat of the pants, going with your gut instinct is over." Today's Hollywood runs on algorithms and focus groups. Movies get made because data says they'll turn a profit, not because someone has a vision they're willing to bleed for.
The audience, the demographic is different. They're now watching films on an iPhone, so it's not as though the theater has become this habitual shrine. Well, yeah, I don't think it's going to ever have the golden era that it's had by far because, for example, when Rocky would never be made today. This never would have happened. It's over. Majority. The Godfather wouldn't be made today.
Stallone's frustration shows when he claims classics like Rocky and The Godfather would never get greenlit today. "Today you're dealing with artificial intelligence," he complained in a recent podcast. It's a different world and not necessarily a better one. He sees an industry that's forgotten how to take meaningful risks, both physically and creatively. What's really impressive is that Stallone is still doing physical roles well into his 70s. For Rambo: Last Blood, he was 73 years old and still insisted on doing sequences that would make actors half his age call for their stunt doubles. Meanwhile, younger action stars get CGI muscles and face replacements whenever the action gets too intense. It's the same risk-averse mentality Stallone sees infecting Hollywood's creative decisions. Studios afraid to challenge audiences or make them uncomfortable, characters without flaws, stories without stakes. Everything watered down to maximize profits and minimize complaints. No wonder he's frustrated with what he calls tofu-eating hipsters running the industry. To Stallone, these aren't just insults. They're shorthand for a culture of softness and safety that's killing the film industry he loves. When he says, "I'm not about to let a bunch of tofu-eating hipsters tell me how to make a movie," what he's really saying is he won't surrender his artistic vision to people who've never taken a real risk in their lives.
And you write Rocky, and the
Right.
studios like it. You finally get acceptance, and
Right.
they say, "Okay, look, we don't want you." Say, "I want to be the star of this movie."
Right. But I did have a sense of humor.
But
And-
the thing is, when you wrote Rocky,
Yeah.
and then finally, I mean, you were broke.
Went against the system and had to mortgage their own houses. Mortgage their houses to get the money up and get the studio behind in the bond to guarantee.
The real kick in the teeth? Stallone isn't just complaining, the movies are proving him right. Just look at Rambo, Last Blood. Critics hated it, calling it too violent and politically incorrect. But audiences loved it, giving it an 85% audience score while critics gave it 26%. There's clearly a disconnect between the Hollywood tastemakers and what actual moviegoers want. While critics were clutching their pearls over Rambo's violence, Stallone was just getting warmed up. His Paramount Plus series Tulsa King doesn't just feature him playing a politically incorrect gangster. It's basically a platform for him to say things that would make most Hollywood publicists have a heart attack. And he's loving every minute of it. In an era where celebrities hire teams of people just to make sure their tweets don't offend anyone, Stallone is out here deliberately stirring the pot. His character in Tulsa King takes direct aim at modern sensitivities with lines that feel less like scripted dialogue and more like Stallone's personal manifesto against what he sees as cultural overcorrection. Take the now infamous pronoun scene. His character doesn't just question the concept. He goes full bulldozer through the china shop of modern etiquette. What the fuck is with the pronouns? He, she, him, they? It's the kind of moment that makes you wonder if the writers were daring the studio to cut it, but Stallone delivered it with the confidence of someone who couldn't care less about the potential Twitter storm. But he doesn't stop there. In what might be the most deliberately provocative moment of the series, his character declares that his own pronoun is it. As in, it can't take this sahuat anymore. Just let that sink in. While other actors are carefully posting their pronouns in their social media bios, Stallone is essentially putting up a middle finger to the entire concept. What's fascinating isn't just that he said it, it's that he got away with it. When other celebrities have made even slightly controversial comments about gender identity or pronouns, they're typically followed by the standard notes app apology within 48 hours. You know the drill. I'm listening and learning. This has been a growth opportunity. I apologize to anyone I've hurt. But Stallone? Radio silence. No backtracking, no clarification, no tearful Instagram video. It's almost as if he's daring someone to try to cancel him, confident that his status as a Hollywood legend makes him bulletproof against the typical career consequences. This isn't a one-off either. Throughout his recent press appearances, Stallone has been increasingly vocal about his frustration with what he perceives as oversensitivity in modern culture. While younger stars carefully craft every word to stay within the bounds of acceptable discourse, Stallone throws caution to the wind, seemingly relishing his role as the grumpy old man telling kids to get off his lawn. It's worth noting that Stallone isn't just randomly lashing out. There's a consistency to his complaints, a coherent worldview that values toughness, directness, and a certain old-school sensibility over what he sees as performative sensitivity. In his mind, he's not being offensive. He's being honest in a world that's increasingly uncomfortable with blunt truth. The question is, does this approach help or hurt his career? In a weird way, it might actually be helping. While Hollywood's power brokers might privately wince at his comments, they can't deny that he's tapping into something that resonates with a significant portion of the audience. In an industry increasingly concerned with appearing progressive, Stallone has positioned himself as the voice of the counterculture, the rare A-lister willing to say what others are thinking, but afraid to verbalize. For every person offended by his pronoun jokes, there are others nodding along, grateful that someone of his stature is willing to question the new orthodoxies. It's almost as if Stallone has created a unique form of job security. By being so consistently himself, he's made himself irreplaceable. You can't replace Sylvester Stallone with a more PR-friendly alternative, because his entire brand is built on being unapologetically Stallone. So what's Stallone really doing here? He's not just some grumpy old guy shouting at clouds. He's fighting a one-man war for his vision of what movies should be. Raw, real, and worth the price of admission. That philosophy is perfectly captured in Rocky's most famous speech, which might as well be Stallone's personal mantra for dealing with Hollywood executives. It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. The man has lived by these words, taking artistic and physical punches that would flatten most of today's carefully managed stars. While other celebrities bend over backward to stay in everyone's good graces, Stallone's still throwing haymakers at what he sees as a sanitized industry. For fans who miss when movies had actual blood, sweat, and consequences, Sly remains their last action hero, the guy who refuses to tap out against the algorithm-obsessed studio system.